It's past time to expose the Democrats and Republicans for usurping liberty and freedom. What you are about to hear is the amalgam of passion and truth. This is the Southern Liberty Radio Show. Good evening, happy Friday. For those of you out there in Liberty Land itself, welcome to this episode of the Southern Liberty Presents the Fifth Estate. I am your host, Mr. Roderick Threets, and we're going to have some great conversations this evening. Nonetheless, first of all, if you're new to this broadcast, make sure you're subscribed and all that likey and join stuff on the Rumble here. Make sure you do that. If you're on Twitch, find us over there too. On YouTube, find us there too. Ultimately, Patreon is going to be your one-stop shop for a lot of this. That's patreon.com/TOLMF. Make sure you plug it in and all that good stuff. We got some hits coming. Always have hits coming over there on that side. No doubt about it. I want to thank everybody pulling up in the live chat this evening. Thank you. I appreciate you. If you want to access the chat, just go to our Rumble, Torture Liberty Media Foundation Rumble, and you can join the live chat. Those of you in the background, I see y'all. Y'all be hanging out and chilling like a villain. I appreciate you even for being here. Shout out to WRMI out of Okeechobee, Florida, for running us across the feed as always. Public radio in Ware County, Georgia, Lowndes County, Glenn County, Charlton County. Appreciate y'all. Chatham County, Georgia. Appreciate y'all. And my folks up in Davis County, Utah, thank you very much for putting us across the airways on the public radio side. Appreciate you. We're always doing the things and teaching the truth as always. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, I have a treat for you guys. We're gonna get back down to basics is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get back down here to the local level. We're gonna talk about some things, the things that the people have forgotten, what they have at their hand when we talk about our politicians. We talk about Democrat, Republican, all of them alike, and we know they're all corrupt as hell. I mean, we're just going to call the two-party system for what it is. They are corrupt as all get up. But what I will tell you, there are solutions. There always have been solutions. You just never taught the solutions. Y'all heard me talk the solutions, but I have a special guest coming up this evening that has also had her hand in it also on her local level and state level. And we're going to have this discussion because it's very important that you understand what power you have at the local level. We worry too much about the whole Donald Trump, the whole federal government nonsense, but we, the people of the several states, can stop federal overreach if we just exercise the rights we have in statute. In local ordinance, we can exercise these things. We can even push back against the state itself, and I mean in the state like the political subdivision state, not the government state. So let's don't confuse these two things, right? We're talking about the little s state, not the big s state, right? We can fight this war and win it on every single level while everybody's looking at the authoritative federal government. They're not expecting we, the people, to stir amongst the states and push back against all their nonsense. So this evening, we're going to be talking about recalling your representatives from local to state. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about redistricting. And we're going to talk about ballot initiatives because, these are the tools we have as we, the people of the several states, need to exercise. So my special guest this evening has been kind of part of that fold per se. She was a former county administrator for one of the largest counties in the state of Colorado. So she's definitely had her hand in this and seen the ins and outs and things that's going on. And she has a little bit of inside baseball too that we can discuss with that. So without further ado, let me introduce you to you guys, Miss Trish Lee. Good evening and thank you, ma'am. How are you today?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I don't know yet. I'm about to find out though, because we about to get real good out here in these streets. So, if you wouldn't mind, tell the lovely audience about yourself and the lovely things you have done, etc. And we're going to get into the conversation.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I am a former county administrator. Once I stepped down from that position, I became quite the little activist. Um, I had my hands in the recall of our district attorney, Alonzo Payne, in Colorado in the 12th district. I have successfully recalled a school board member. And then I spend the rest of the time harassing commissioners. The most recent thing that I did, along with some help, was stopped an initiative for a new special district to be formed that would have increased our mill levy by 18.6 mills. It did then get knocked down to a larger geographical area and brought down to 8.6 mills, but we weren't going to have that either way. We did get it knocked down. In that case, they needed the commissioner's approval. And I'm like a petition expert. We got a whole lot of signatures for petition, submitted it to the commissioners, and they did turn it down. So that's a little bit of my background. I do a little bit more, but that's the gist of it.
Well, I greatly appreciate you taking time out this evening so we can talk about liberty on
Yes.
the because again, like I mentioned before in my monologue, prologue, or whatever you want to call it, um, these things are very important on controlling, being be able to put the leash on local government, right?
Hmm.
So I guess what the conversation I really want to have is first thing is this redistricting thing, right? Because seems to be the hot topic, and you have a lot of noise out here. People talking about, these groups of people can't redistrict because of this, and you know, the mumbo jumbo. We're gonna have that conversation and set it straight. So I'm gonna ask you from your experience and what you've seen, etc. And even citing your own state statutes in this regard. Kind of let's go run through on how this redistricting should work.
Absolutely. I was actually part of our redistricting during the last census. Um, every state is a little bit different. Uh, but for my state, what they say by statute that they have an independent commission for both congressional redistricting and state legislative redistricting. I find it very curious that they say that they have an independent because it actually is the two-party system. Each of the parties will come up with some maps. They both submit the maps. They do allow some delegates to join and also leave it open to the public for comments as well. But realistically, the two-party system is the one who decides the redistricting, just like in many other states. Once they go back and forth multiple times, I believe it was about 10 meetings, and they come to an agreement and submit it to the state legislation. Now, in a lot of states, the governors usually have no veto authority. There are a few that do. So once that does go to our legislators in the state, they vote on it and pretty much always will pass it. So that's how it happens here in my state. There are some that are a little bit different. They say the legislation does it. There are other independent commissions. It just really depends on what state you're in. Some have a hybrid system as well. Are we here? I can continue on. I will. The governor's role in redistricting. I think it's 31 states. Governors have that veto power over redistricting. Once it's been passed by the legislation. And those that have that commission state the governors sometimes have limited or no veto power in it. So, like I said, the majority of the states it is decided by the legislators.
and I've always been in the opinion that since the elections, right, are by the people, ran by the state for oversight, right,
Mm-hmm.
that the redistricting should be a civilian issue, because down to its core, right, even though you have the right to vote via the 15th Amendment in the federal election,
Mm-hmm.
those representatives that go from your district should be, those lines should be drawn by the civilians 100%, with,
Absolutely.
right, with, the state providing the census maps, right, on how these things should be should be drawn. Because I've been trying to do some research and try to find out why the states took the helm of redistricting, and I can't find anything that says it was in the civilians control, right, and then the legislative branch of your states took control of it. It's always seemed like it's been legislative, but again, I'm I haven't seen all of the information on it, but I wish we would kind of go back to kind of go to a system that the civilians would redraw and take the and literally knock out the two-party system and all that.
Well, well, they are doing it in Texas, actually. You remember there's that a bill that's been introduced. That bill is a resolution, actually, Joint House Joint Resolution 205,
Right. Yep.
that it actually will establish an independent citizen redistricting commission. I mean, every single state should have that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Because that's the bill that they tried to say that was the what was the narrative around that I had seen, that they were I can't remember now off the top of my head, um what it was, but it was kind of like
The
the
narrative,
Republicans were trying to.
like, yeah, that they were trying to take it over or something. And yeah, it turns out that was not the case. But that was a narrative being spewed.
Right, right, and actually, let me see. I can pull it up right now. I found the bill itself, so everybody can see what we're talking about. Um, Here we go. Yeah, House Joint Resolution 205, and this would actually actually with the part the Democrats and the other team per se didn't tell you was that this was a proposal of a constitutional amendment to establish the
Mhm.
Independent Citizen Redistricting Commission, right?
Absolutely.
To redistrict everything. But they didn't tell you that. They said, "Oh, Republicans want to take control," and they blew it up in the face. And I really think the reason it died the way it did is when people read the bill title as we are looking at it here. It's proposing a constitutional amendment,
Hmm.
but will
Yeah, I mean, not all amendments are bad, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's really important to pay attention to them.
right. That's 100. That's 100% right. And again, right, that we should have a copy of that type of resolution in every state, because again, I can't stress enough, and I'll say it again, that the elections are of the people, and the states are to manage them, right? And I one thing I love going back to, because they gave us a perfect example, was the whole narrative around the 64 cases, right? The 64 cases that was turned down by Trump in 2020. I remember that, right? And
Hmm.
90%, 62 of those cases, I was it was yeah, 62 of those cases were struck down because Trump didn't have standing, and the Democrats tried to run with that, say, "Look, he doesn't have standing. See, he lost those cases." No, Donald Trump, in his personal capacity, the way those lawsuits was handed in, he wasn't the one that would incur damage, so he had no standing to sue. And that's how they left it, and people just took it. He lost these cases. No, he didn't lose anything. He just wasn't. He it was the right case, wrong party. Wrong party that would have been inflicted, right? And remember, I told y'all who the inflicted party would have been. It would have been the people, because the office of the president is a civilian office, not a government worker, right? Or a government employee. He is a civilian officer. That office is of the people. The people would have been damaged. Donald Trump was not of the people. But I digress on that. We can't. We won't break that down again. That was 5 years ago. Jeez, it's been that long, 5 years ago.
It
Wow.
goes fast.
Um,
It definitely goes fast.
it does go fast, right? So with that, again, I mean, civilian control of our elections, of our election redistricting, right? So we make sure
Hmm.
that the legislatures don't cheat, because I mean, I don't know what your opinion is, Miss Trish, but I would say with 51% certainty, notice I left some out there, right? 51% certainty that Democrats have redistricted most of the blue states that we have seen. They have redistricted in a way where Republicans will never win again.
Well, we know California absolutely did that for
Right,
sure. And
right,
I mean, Colorado's, the one that I was participating in, it was the absolute duty to make sure, all they wanted to do was make sure that Lauren Boebert's district changed, that she had zero chance of making it in again, which I think we all
right,
know she ultimately had to change districts altogether because of that gerrymandering in that district. You always hear people say the Republicans are gerrymandering, the Republicans are doing it. Well, I think it was New York. New York, it was the Democrats that did it. Here in Colorado, it was the Democrats that did it. It is a back and forth, and neither party should have any say, in my opinion. I mean, I would take this resolution that Texas is doing, take it to every single state. Let's get a movement going.
I agree 100%. Um, I might actually, I've thought about that. I might actually take a copy of that, kind of reword it a little bit, add a couple of things in there, and let's create ballot initiatives, right? And make it a constitutional amendment, not by statute, where a legislature can just slap it down at any time. Make it a constitutional amendment at that point, right? Because right
Absolutely.
now, we can't trust the state legislatures to do their job, even though we elect them directly. We can't trust them to do the right thing. And with that, again, it's part of the powers that we have, right? The recall,
Hmm.
the recall process, right? To pull these people back that don't do right. But again, here we go, right? People don't understand the power of recall. I mean, look at the last biggest one we had. What was that? Gavin Newsom in California, the
Hmm.
recall where you had Larry Elder and Kevin Kiley on the ballot, and who else was on the ballot? Can't remember, but I remember the Libertarian candidate and the Republican candidate that was in on the recall ballot, right? And I still say to this day, Kevin Kiley should have never jumped in that race, even though he's libertarian, but he's turned out now he's not as libertarian as people think he is. But he took votes away from Larry Elder in that particular situation where people wanted a desperate change, and Kevin Kiley just acted as an agent of the Democrats, and allowed Gavin Newsom to barely skirt out of there. But that's my opinion. I digress, though. So recall balloting. Where do I want to go with that conversation? You say you was involved with a recall yourself, Mister. So kind of explain that process
A couple.
in Colorado.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, not every state does allow it. I believe it is
Correct.
17 states that do not allow recall. Here in Colorado, um, they love to tell you that it's an incredibly hard process. They love to tell you, don't even bother trying, you'll never get it done. It absolutely is not an incredibly hard process to follow. I mean, you do have to watch your P's and Q's. You do have to do things in a particular manner, but it's not anything that most people cannot read directions and follow at all. So basically, during the recall, you take. I'll just do the school board because I think most people can relate to that. You have your school district, and if you want to recall that school board member, you go to your county clerk. They give you the form to fill out. You have to give reason. Now, each state's a little bit different. Some states they do not require any reason to recall. You don't even have to put anything down. There's a section to put why, but it's not a requirement. Other states, there absolutely has to be a particular requirement as to why. Here in Colorado, we have none. You go in, you say why that person needs to be recalled, you file the paperwork. The city clerk, I believe within 5 days, must give you the amount of signatures you must get. They give you the template for said signatures and give you the instructions on how to do it. So that form that you originally turned in must go to the front. You must make every effort to make sure that the people signing are actually reading it. You want to do as very little as you can of talking with them and telling them, or if you do tell them, make sure it's coming right from your reasoning as to why. That is very important. And you run around and get your signatures. Now, we did learn, I was also part of the recall Jared Polis, which was not successful. And what they did with Jared Polis is we live a lot of country land out here in Colorado. We have a lot of roads that sound like, 123 East County Road, 1-2-12. If it had to be written exactly how your registration was. So you couldn't, put West as a W if your actual registration spelled out West. They were that particular. Now, I can say on a more local level, they were not that particular, but I wasn't taking any chances. You could always get your list from the county clerk for all registered voters in whichever district that you want. They will charge you, but you can receive it. And I had everyone write it exactly how it was on the registration. We would look up the registration from that list. Once you get your signatures, you turn that in. And from that point, they count, they verify the signatures are accurate, the addresses are accurate, that these people are actually registered within that district. And then once approved, it goes on the ballot. The next thing you know, come November, unless it's a special election, it could be the middle of the year if it's a special election, your recall is on that ballot and it's voted upon. It really is just that simple. So don't let them tell you it's hard. It's not.
No, it's literally it's about following. Following the rules, right? Now I know in the state of Florida, it's very very similar, right? But with Florida, you have to specifically list right on the recall form the reason for it, right? And I think if I remember correctly, here in Florida, it's malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, drunkenness, incompetence, permanent inability, and conviction of a felony involving moral turpitude. I think there may be a couple more, but don't quote me exactly. Um, don't quote me exactly on that, but I know for sure it's in the chapter 100 statute of Florida statutes. That goes into that section 360, 361 of that nature. I'm just kind of spitball on top of my head 'cause I've read it a couple few times because obviously those I know I've tried I've kind of started either recalling try to recall or have made police forces go defunct in lieu of the sheriff here in Florida. So with that, again, same process, right? Petition process, right? You got to have um here it's got to be. What do you think? So the number of signatures required on the initial petition, right? Um, will vary
It's a
depending
percentage.
on the Right, it's a percentage, right? So, for example, like the particular jurisdiction has 25,000 or more registered voters. At least 1,000 of them must sign a petition. 1,000 or 5%, whichever is actually greater. I'm kind of, this is I should look up the statute instead of trying to spitball it. But it keeps the brain sharp, right? So once you get that petition and you get that turned in, right, into the supervisor elections, now the official that is targeted for the recall, right, is notified and given 5 minutes to file a defensive statement at that point, right? And then once that's documented, the recall has to happen. Well, let me say the people that's in I'm jumping ahead. The people that are in opposition of the recall has 60 days to collect a set of signatures, right? To actual counter it in the current jurisdiction. If they don't, then it goes to the ballot,
Yeah, we
which
don't
nine
have that
times
in
out,
Colorado.
yeah.
So that is a
So
state by state.
it is state
Hmm.
by state, and then it goes to it goes to the election, and the official has 5 days to resign once it's officially on the ballot, right? Now, if they don't resign, then a recall election is called within 30 to 60 days of the official's refusal to resign. So for us, it's a special election that would actually happen. And then
Hmm.
obviously ballot question will be kind of framed as shall so and so be removed from office um from this particular obviously let's say Florida Senate, right? And then provides the two options, remove or don't remove them. So we're just a little bit different. We have a little extra added process in there with ours. But most states are the ones that do have recall or like that. And I can't remember what states those were too that actually had the recall process. I have to go look. So I know I wrote a piece on Patreon about it. I have to go look at it real quick. Um
I think I have that. Let me see real quick. Maybe, maybe not. I do want to point out though, for those that maybe for your own state, if you're looking for it, the information you will find what is allowed, what is not allowed. In your state, you would want to go to either a county clerk or you can go right to your Secretary of State. Everything you ever need to know are in those two places. I always prefer the county clerk. They can actually hand you the documents. It's a little
right.
more personal of a conversation for your absolute district because it can change even district by district, especially for those states that don't allow recall at all. Even though the state doesn't allow recall, remember, we always have local authority. I always try to remind people of that. So if you have like a home rule city, they
Hmm.
can create policy and ordinances to have recall if at very little, at least in that municipality right there, if they're home rule. They could always create their own. And I would encourage, while we're even trying to get you to, you know, get that recall for those states that do not allow it. And I do have a list that does not allow it. I do not have the do. I encourage you. Let's start talking about that. Let's get those recalls
Yeah,
going in each and
every
every
state
state.
should, right. Yeah, every state should have a recall provision. And no, mind you either too, right? If it's like your local municipality, whether it be county or city, 9 times out of 10, it's written in the charter for a
Hmm.
recall. If it's not, you can get it added to the charter, right? In that regard, depends on what level you're going, but every level should have a recall statute, right? Every level. Even the federal level. The federal level has a recall statute, but it cannot be triggered, which is great. Which if you understand the system, we shouldn't be able to do that. But we have the expulsion clause in the Constitution, which is basically a recall, but it has to be invoked by members of the House of Representatives or the Senate to have that person removed to be sent back to the states, right? We did have, right, before the 17th Amendment, the ability to remove a senator at will. You're not doing the job, bye. We're sending
Hmm.
somebody up there that needs to be there. But when they added the 17th Amendment, it took away the state's ability to pull that senator that is not representing the state appropriately. And that in itself has nuance and has problems too, you know, when it comes to that. But again, end of the day, right? If it's a government by the people for the people, then why do we allow your local municipalities, your state entities, and your federal government to shield themselves from the people so that they can't be held accountable?
Yep.
But with that, um, I want to get your take on what's happening in DC right now.
Hmm.
Right, we're talking about crime rate, and I know guys we're shifting a little bit, but for good reason, because all of this kind of plays together a little bit, right? Because we know the narrative in the beginning was that DC, right, is not crime ridden. The crime is going down year after year. For the last 30 years, crime has been decreasing, and we know for a fact. I mean, if you have common sense, that's really not true from my standpoint. But I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I'm all for what's happening. Eh, I mean, it's the president is within his authority, and I'm sorry if the police of DC, I mean, cannot handle their crime. I think we all know there's plenty of areas that they are belittling the crime or even removing the crime from the crime. You can now steal
Right.
up to $1,000 and it's just a misdemeanor. You can do it. It's no big deal. You'll be out. So we're removing the crime out of crime these days. And I know they, put out their statistics and they say that crime is going down. Crime is going down. Well, there's a report that was actually put out by the DC District Court that says the polar opposite of what the municipal police say. I mean, let's get real. You have a website, you have the police. They never want to make it seem like they're not doing their job, right? They're always going to tweak those statistics. The best place to find those with the district court. They don't have any reason to tweak and make it look like they're doing a good or bad job. They just put out the facts. So I do encourage everyone to go look at that report from DC District Court. But I am all for it. Absolutely. I almost, for those big cities where the police are either afraid to do anything or they're being told not to do anything, I think this is the best solution for right now. Did I kind of cover it for you?
I mean, it really, honestly, it is the only solution, right? Yeah. I mean, you can only use the stats for so long, right? Happening, and it's came to a point. I mean, even where, and I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago when this happened. That when Judge Janine said, "I don't even get to see the juvenile cases," right? As the district attorney of the District of Columbia, not necessarily, the city attorney, right? She doesn't get to see those, so they can push the juvenile ones under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
right? And actually, and actually pad these stats, because a lot of these juveniles are committing felonies, like serious felonies, like carjacking,
But that's what those gangs do these days.
right? Like, oh, we're just going to just let them go with a with the like, right, right, and it's plum. It's guess what? People, even visitors. I mean, because in the country, you know, walks to National Mall, walk to the White House, and all these things, and they're getting these foreigners are getting jumped for making a wrong turn. Right now, uh, those that disagree with that, I'm just like, when they burn your city down, like they did Minneapolis, don't call nobody. Don't better call Tyrone. You better call Tyrone and his crew to come clean it up, because no one should be sending any type of government assistance to you if you are just sitting here biting on it, right? Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't agree with is him saying that he's going to go to Chicago. He just posted that the other day. I'm going to go to Chicago and do the same. No, you absolutely will not, Mr. Trump. No, you will not. Do not overstep your authority, sir. Do not let look. If the people of the states want to live in lawlessness, what's the federal government's purview in that? Don't have one. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree.
I mean, they want to burn Springfield down. Go ahead. You want to burn down Atlanta? Go ahead. You want to burn down Sacramento? I know my
Oops.
folks in California that are in here. Um, burn it down. Hmm? Burn it down. You know. And when it gets burned down, guess what? Hmm. Don't ask the federal government. Actually, let's don't say don't ask the federal government. Don't ask the American people for help. Don't ask the American people to continue giving their tax dollars so you can rebuild your capital cities. Don't do that. Don't do that. It was your fault that you didn't defend your cities. Hey, but y'all got mad when Donald Trump, right? And here's the hypocrisy, Miss Trish. Here's the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Trump moves in FPS. Trump moves in the Marines out of 27 Palms. He moves in some border patrol to protect federal buildings because those
Mm-hmm.
buildings are paid for by the people, all the people. Hmm? And they're going to get mad. It creates a bad presence in the city. Don't be jackasses. Don't destroy the buildings that my tax dollars have gone to pay for in your state. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna shut up and let this go unless Miss Trish has something else to say about it, which I'm probably sure she does. Um, you're lucky, like those people in California when all that was going on. You're lucky it was the president of the United States and FPS that has a specific set of rules of engagement. If it would have been civilians going to defend those federal buildings, Los Angeles would have been on fire. And it would have been the kind of fire you would have saw during Rodney King. Because the one thing these Democrat strongholds, as we've noticed, don't want y'all to do is to rise up against it to protect what belongs to the people. This is why they have these strict gun laws. This is why. They don't want you to defend what's yours, people. All those beautiful buildings, those beautiful domes in your capital cities and these state parks, those belong to you, people. Those belong to you. Those are your tax dollars that keep that land maintained, that keep those buildings maintained. And when they take away your ability to defend that when they are lack or being tyrannical, you mm. You have anything to add to that, Miss Trish?
I think you said it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. To be honest. I guess the only thing that I really could, like, I like to point out the hypocrisy sometimes, right? I believe that there was National Guard set loose on the citizens during C-19 COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I
Correct.
didn't hear a whole lot of complaining back then, right?
No.
Stay in your
Mm-mm.
house, stay in your house, troops down the road, right? Didn't hear a word. I
No.
it's hypocrisy. It really is.
No. But
It,
then they talk about how, well, Donald Trump is using the National Guard in D.C., but he didn't do that for the riots on January 6th. And I'm like, I look with that keen eye, and I'm like, you know the difference between Title 10 and Title 32? You know the difference? Do you understand that difference? Oh, you don't. Shut up. Just clean the fuck up, please. Because if you haven't read that and understood that, and understood the United States Constitution and understood the Home Rule Act, you wouldn't say anything you say. But again, we get people that just run off with the mouth and haven't read anything. And then when you go to find them later to hold them accountable for, oh, I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. You said the whole thing with your
Well, when it
chest
comes
like
to
it was going to mean something.
when it comes to that as well, let's not forget about U.S. Code 1974 that describes exactly who's responsible on the capital lands.
Right. That's right.
That would be, at that time it was Nancy Pelosi.
Yep.
Per to U.S. Code 1974.
Yep. That's correct. But no, we ain't gonna rehash
That's an old debate subject. Yes, that is old. That's a good one, though.
Yeah, it's old, but again, right? This goes to the point where people don't understand, right? Their rights and what the federal government has done to shield themselves from accountability from the people that voted them in. Right? I mean, let's keep it real, right? Let's keep it all the way real. And this sounds crazy. Nah, it's the truth. Our federal government, day by day, is becoming more and more authoritarian. Day by day. I don't care if you have a big R next to your name or a big D next to your name. You're all in cahoots to continue usurping liberty and freedom from the people that voted you in. And this is why, again, our local politics is very important. Very, very, very important. Because that's the only check we have left on the state government and the federal government. That's the last check we got. And if we don't use it, we lose it too. And a lot of cities have lost that. A lot of cities have lost that. I mean, look at what you call it? Chicago. Better yet, what was that? What's that township outside of Chicago where that girl, what's that girl's name? Tiffany Henyard is the mayor of the township. Is she even still in power? Is Tiffany Henyard still in power? Because she died off. Was she just a talking point?
Yeah, I'm not sure if she still is. Sounds like you're looking it up.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Actually, she lost her primary election. She lost in the primary. She lost in the primary. She also lost her Thornton Township supervisor position too. Yeah. So I didn't hear any more about that. Like she just flew off the face of the earth. All of a sudden, you didn't hear her no more. But yeah, so she lost. She ended up losing her seat. But still, right? It's cases like that, right? Where Tiffany Henyard could do whatever the hell she wanted, right? And there was no check on her, right? The board of trustees could only do so much, and she was just spending everybody's money, and that's the problem. That's the.
I guess I wasn't familiar with this. Like, so what position did she hold? That
She was the
able to do that?
mayor. She was the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, and she was also on the Thornton Township board of supervisors at the same time. Yeah.
How? Yeah.
It's just the way they're set up. It's the way they're set up. Yeah. So she could do that, but she spent all those taxpayer, and she's not being technically held accountable for it. They're going to end up after a while sweep it under the rug, and just like Democrats do, sweep it under the rug and keep going. This is what they do.
I mean, there's supposed to be an ethics committee in every single state, but in my experience, which I do have experience in this one, the ethics committee does not do very much at all. Right. It's very hard to get them to go after someone.
Yeah. 100%. 100% right on that one. I want to. We've came to the end. I want to thank everybody for hanging out this evening. Hopefully, you got some great information. And hopefully, you can take some of this information and apply it to your local area. And hopefully, you can this evening, and all of that. Make sure everybody. Make sure you check the Patreon and um, you know, make sure you're following the channel. Make sure you're following the channel everywhere it's at. Um, and if you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments, right? Or send a message again on the Patreon. You can get the free membership side of Patreon. Send your questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them. But I'll look, Miss Trish. Thank you as always.
Of
For
course.
being here and talking to the people and all that good stuff. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want you guys to enjoy your weekend coming up and all that good stuff. And do yourself a favor. Open up your Constitution and read it again. Just even though you may have read it 25,000 times. I can't tell you how many times I've read my Constitution. My federal Constitution and my state. I'm going to do this because Monday's show is going to be a little different because there's nothing going on this week in the federal government. Nothing, not a lick of anything. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to, everybody should download, potentially if you can, download Rumble Studio. Okay. And get all that jazz going on, right? Those of you that are willing, I want to push you on your knowledge of your state constitutions. You got all weekend to read it. And I want people to be able to come up to the microphone. You don't have to show your face unless you want to, right? And describe or talk about your state's constitution because it's very important, right? It's important that we know the rights that are within, right, the U.S. Constitution, but do you know the rights that are enshrined in the state constitution? Does that mirror the U.S. Constitution? Most of them do, but a lot of them don't. I'll tell you that now, especially when it comes to the right to bear arms issue. A lot of state constitutions don't have that in there, right? So take a read, all that good stuff. And Monday, we're going to set it up. I'm going to have the link available. You can click the link and jump in here and we'll do it one at a time. We won't do, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 people, right? We'll take, 5 minutes a person, right? We're going to do, like I said, about 5 minutes a person, depending on how many people are willing. I'll send out the link and everything. I think I'll have to do that link probably on Sunday. It'll be Sunday. I have to send the link out so you're able to get in. So okay, actually no, let's don't do it that way. I'm gonna post something on the Patreon and you can respond to it if you're wanting to participate in it. I hope everybody that listens that I see just right here in the chat alone and people listening through Rumble, I see 198 people, right? I hope out of those 198 people, right, you read your state constitution and willing to come in and talk about it, all that good stuff, right? Because it's good education. We need to know these things. So with that, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And remember, love your neighbors, love your family, but ultimately, if you don't do that, you can't love anybody else. Until next time, peace and love.